how to be a better activist. This video is not me saying I am the best activist in the world, I am far from it. However, I am taking a point that came up on Palestine, a conversation with Noam Chomsky and Ilan Pappé, where they really went into something which really stuck out to me about how one can be a much better activist for change, and I really want to talk about it and just share it with you. So I'm going to read out an extract from the book now, and then I'll talk about it further and also bring it up in relation to some other extracts from the book. Those are the kinds of choices that you always have to make when you are considering acting in the interest of someone. You have to ask what is going to help them, not what is going to make you feel good. This point on doing something that is going to actually help people that you are being an activist for, instead of making you feel good, is a really key point. Because look, a lot of us want to help people, but also part of that is we feel good helping other people. There's no denying it. It's a human thing. I'm helping someone and I feel really good about that. However, there is a weird line there where you might think you're helping someone, and I certainly have done this myself, I'll be honest. You think you're helping someone, but in actuality, you're just doing something that kind of makes you feel good about yourself. Whether it be making a video about something that's happening, but not really actually including resources or including sort of places people can go and help out these people you're fighting for. You just kind of do it because you're like, see, look at me, I'm a good person. Albeit you might not be doing that consciously, you may be doing that subconsciously, you may be doing that without knowing it, but you are potentially doing that. It's the same with sharing a post on Instagram or Twitter. That's not a bad thing. I certainly don't think that's a bad thing for you to do. But always remember, this post I'm sharing, am I sharing it because it's the zeitgeist and because I feel good about sharing it? Or am I sharing it because I know this post is going to link to places where people can educate themselves or people can help these people I am an activist for? Is this a quality post? Am I going to be adding context to this post to help these people I am being an activist for? The lighting is terrible. So that's something that we really need to consider here, and it's something that I definitely, especially since reading this book recently, I have been considering further. There's another extract which gives some context on Noam Chomsky's part here, which I want to read to you as well. It is slightly longer. For example, 10 years ago, at the time when Sharon invaded the West Bank and there were these massive atrocities in Jenin, there were protests here. There was a faculty petition condemning it. The faculty in question was Harvard. I signed it, mainly out of sympathy for the people who were doing it, but I thought it was badly designed. It had provisions in it which were guaranteed to be unintelligible to the general population and to create backlash. This to create backlash thing in particular, I believe, is important. Chomsky goes on to say how that the whole thing shifted away from these atrocities that were happening in the West Bank to a question about what's happening in Harvard. Is Harvard anti-Semitic? Why is Harvard coming out as being slightly anti-Israel? It completely changed the focus of what it was. And I think this is another thing to consider. What you might do might make you feel good as a person individually, but overall you may be hurting the people you are fighting for. Again, to go back to another Palestine example, recently, obviously the stuff that was happening in the recent months, there were two YouTubers who I'm not going to name names of, just in case they find this, who went around and, in my opinion, harassed people in North London. I think in particular it was Golders Green. Golders Green and those parts of North London have a predominant Jewish population. And they were kind of going around basically harassing just people because they were Jewish. And that completely created an entire thing, especially online, and I think it did also make the news, where they were talking about people going around and harassing Jewish people. This whole movement for being pro-Palestine is riddled with anti-Semitism, and that became the purpose, that became the talking point. That it was taken away from helping the Palestinians on the ground, sharing their stories, fighting for them, and it became why are these people anti-Semitic? And I will completely agree that harassing Jewish people and saying, oh, you're Jewish, I'm going to harass you about what Israel is doing, in my opinion, is entirely anti-Semitic, and you should not be doing that. And that's what happened. The whole narrative shifted to, why are these people being anti-Semitic, instead of how can we help Palestinians? Let's talk about Palestinians and uplift them to, this is me assuming the thought process of those two YouTubers. In my mind, going out and harassing Jewish people is a thing that's going to make me feel good about helping Palestinians, when in actuality, it probably had the negative effect on helping Palestinians. It most likely turned people off from supporting the pro-Palestine movement because they didn't want to associate themselves with, again, what I believe is anti-Semitism. So, I think the best way to become the best activist you can be is to take this idea of not thinking about what makes me feel good, or what I think is a good thing, and actually think about how is it best going to help and represent the people I am fighting for. Whether it be Palestinians, whether it be Native Americans, and especially against the Line 3 pipeline, whether it be natives in South America, whether it be black people in America who still continue to face discrimination, especially from law enforcement. That's what you need to consider. How am I going to help the people more so than do I feel good about posting this? Because yes, I completely understand. Doing something to help others does make us feel good, because, in my opinion, it's human nature to help others. However, don't only think about how you're going to feel. And I know that's hard because it's natural to us, but always consider first and foremost the people you are fighting for. Thank you for listening. I hope that was informative. I know that almost seems like it's a common knowledge thing, but I think it's something we need to think about more when we're doing anything, especially in activism. So yeah, thank you. I will list the one book I mentioned down below and a couple other books that I think might be kind of useful for this kind of thing. Hey, if you have any suggestions on books I should read for helping me with my activism, I think over the past year and a half, I think personally I've kind of grown as an individual, I hope positively, but also wanting to be more involved in activism and really trying to fight for other people. Please leave books, documentaries, etc. in the comments down below. I'd greatly appreciate that. I'll do the regular YouTube thing, like, subscribe, share the video with your friends and family. Turn on that notification bell. And gosh, I apologize for my lighting.